So I'm writing about mitosis, meiosis, Gregory, Mendel, and then I got down a rabbit hole like the Catholic Church, and then Freemasons, thinking that the Freemasons and the Catholic Church somehow were related in some way, shape, or form. And what I'm researching around the Catholic Church and Freemasonry is that they are actually diametrically opposed. They have been at war with each other for a long time. And I guess maybe some of you know this because the Freemasons are trying to be free from the constraints of the Catholic Church. And I'm looking at science, and I'm looking at all the different experiments that are being offered through the monks of the Catholic Church and the Meiosis of Gregory Mendel and sexual reproduction. And then the constructs of a man and a woman that we are living under, and the population versus the depopulation. And so, here I'm reading about, God, was the Vatican the one to determine the meiosis of society through social constructs? It seems to be. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him male and female. He created them. 218, man occupies a unique place in the creation. He is in the image of God, like, Adam and Eve. In his own nature, he unites the spiritual and material worlds. He is created male and female. And then this is from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. God established him in his friendship. Now, someone a long time ago had a book called The Catechism of the Catholic Church. And so I didn't read it, but this seems to be like the premise of our society. Okay? The premise of our society, which is male, female, procreate, have as many children as possible, and then die in the end. So then I'm looking at Masonic lodges granted, some Masonic lodges may provide great service in the community. Nevertheless, when a Catholic understands his group history, religious pretense, anti-Catholic basis, and violence against the Church, no serious Catholic can justify joining Freemasonry. A good basic resource for more information is the Catholic Truth Society's Freemasonry and the Christian Faith. Because Freemasonry is against the social constructs of the Catholic Church, which lives in meiosis, reproduction, very distinct roles of male and female, and then being destroyed at the end. Okay, interesting. And so I'm looking at Freemasonry, and then yes, you're seeing the rise of the LGBT community, and people are like, oh my god, the Freemasons are so satanic, they're so this or so that. And there is something to be said for the LGBT community. That may be, since it's been around for centuries, like Lesbos and all these different islands and things, and the Greeks and all that stuff. It seems that these roles of male and female, in order to reproduce, was something that was given by the Catholic Church. But love and sexual attraction has to do with chemistry. But it would still take a sperm and an egg to create life. Now, what social construct of male and female is actually really of non-importance. It just so happens to be a very safe construct that we know, that we feel that we can rely on as what is normal, and now we are realizing that, okay, that was the Catholic way, where you have a male and female role, and then you have specific procreation duties, which you see in the Mormon religion, where people are just having babies upon babies upon babies, and the same thing in the Catholic religion, just so many kids, just reproduction, and now we're heading into a depopulation. We're like, okay, we have Planned Parenthood, we have the different wars, we have family planning, we have sterility, we have the teaching of being able to do whatever without creating a baby. And so you're seeing now really a war between like what I'm thinking, Freemasonry and the Catholic Church. Because when you have one side say, okay, we need population control, so we're in a depopulation, and maybe it is the Freemasons, yes, they're saying, okay, I think we're still in its infancy trying to figure out what the ultimate human is, but we have Catholic scientists and we have Freemason scientists trying to figure out how to have a utopian society, and there's different warring factions, and each faction doesn't know which one is the enemy, but it's based upon your belief system and what you're fighting against. But when you think about it, both sides are not creating peace at the micro level because they're both reproducing on a continuous basis without addressing the issues within asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Because yes, mitosis is asexual reproduction. That's what mitosis is. But eventually, when a person isn't applying the right chemistry, that mitosis stops, and then meiosis kicks in, assuming that you can bear a baby or you have viable sperm. Okay? Doesn't matter if you're man or woman, doesn't even matter anymore at this point. Now it's about, do you have what it takes to carry on life within you or carry on life outside of you and carry on your genetic blueprint. And so I'm like, holy crap, you know, now my whole view on Freemasons is completely different because yes, they did escape the Catholic Church and come to America, and they are Freemasons. Yes, you know, George Washington's a Freemason. A lot of Freemasons, they are trying to figure out a different society. And yes, you're going to have Catholics also, which is probably one of the biggest religions. Catholics and Muslims are one of the hugest religions out there. Now, I don't know too much about the Muslim religion as far as procreation, but it doesn't even matter at this point. But I know about Mormons, I know about Catholics. And there is, you know, like they are very distinct in their roles as male and female, and they also promote reproduction, sexual reproduction. But both sides don't understand asexual reproduction on a continuous basis, and that's where Jilly Juice comes in. This is where it won't matter both sides. You want to live, you know, there's no distinct male and female role because you can actually promote life within you on a continuous basis without having to reproduce and then have those specific roles. And so, yeah, the Catholic Church has created a very, very controlled society, and then maybe the Freemasons came in. Maybe the Freemasons came in and was like trying to challenge that specific construct. And so what would seem like would be something satanic, like, oh, Planned Parenthood and all this other stuff, which, yeah, I don't like killing anything. But we have so much imbalance in the world. How do you control a population? Well, here's the best way. The Jilly Juice is the best way without having to reproduce and then kill, or having to cave into your urges because, yeah, you have imbalances, you have meiosis triggering, and you're going to want to go and procreate, but you don't want to actually have a baby. So this is why you're seeing so much sexual deviancy, is because people still have the meiosis urges, but they don't want to have a child. And that's what biotech is doing right now, is saying, okay, we're going to acknowledge that you're going to have the urges, but we're not going to now have it result in another life on this earth that we have to go and try to figure out how to balance out. And so, oh my God, holy crap. So yeah, there is a huge war. Like, maybe you know about it, but maybe you don't. But I thought maybe Freemasonry and the Catholic Church were somehow connected because they both have their imprint on the direction of our society. And maybe that's who is controlling the world, is the Freemasons. And so yeah, you have Rockefeller, you have Rothschild, you have all the architects, the barons, you know, the robber barons, I guess you want to call them, that are trying to figure out how to control society that is a little bit outside of the church. And then you have the church with its influence trying to then infiltrate, and they both infiltrate each other, and then there's offshoots of how people perceive what the church is doing as well as what the Freemasons are doing. So what it all comes down to is that who these scientists are, as far as like Mendel and and, Copernicus and all that. Yeah, they came out of the Catholic, which is great. We need the Catholic scientists to refer back to give us that foundation. And we need the Freemasons to come and figure out how to keep the balance so we're not just overpopulating the earth, but how can you have both cohabitate with each other? Well, now we're entering into that world where can we do continuous mitosis at an exponential level within the blueprint of the body and not have to trigger meiosis and then trigger sterility. But meiosis is going to get triggered no matter what when the body senses extinction. So this is some pretty complicated crap, but I mean, let me hold on a second. What was that? I just don't remember. History. But yeah, I've been told the Masonics, Catholic straight answers. I'm going to read this. Since I've been told the Masons have changed, can Catholics join the Masons? And this is what's kind of triggering my brain to work this way. Since the decree in eminenti of Pope Clement XII in 1738, Pope Clement 13 or 12, in 1738, Catholics have been forbidden to join the Masons, and until 1983, under pain of excommunication. Please note that Freemasonry originated in England in 1717. Scanning official documents, the Church has condemned Freemasonry and other secret societies at least 53 times since 1738, and has specifically repeated the condemnation of Freemasonry 21 times. Some confusion occurred in 1974 when a letter by Cardinal Franho Sieper, the prefect of the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, was interpreted to mean that Catholics could join Masonic lodges that were not anti-Catholic, an interpretation widely advanced by the media. However, the same congregation declared this interpretation as erroneous in 1981. Interesting. The most recent pronouncement came on November 26, 1983, with the approval of Pope John Paul II, when the Sacred Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, whose prefect was Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict XVI, reiterated the ban of Catholics joining the Masons. The Church's negative position on the Masonic Association remains unaltered, since their principles have always been regarded as irreconcilable with the Church's doctrine. Hence, joining them remains prohibited by the Church. Catholics enrolled in the Masonic associations are involved in serious sin and may not approach Holy Communion. Neither this declaration nor the 1983 Code of Canon Law impose the penalty of excommunication on Catholics belonging to the Masons. However, the Holy See has upheld the belonging to Freemasonry and participating in its rituals is a mortal sin which prevents one from receiving Holy Communion. Why the prohibition under pain of mortal sin? Since Freemasonry is a hodgepodge of theology, history, and traditions of cultic groups such as the Druids, Mithars, Egyptian priesthood, Rosicrucians, and others, it blurs the Christian understanding of God. So listen to this. Why the prohibition under pain of mortal sin? And this is from the Catholic Church around the Freemasons. Since Freemasonry is a hodgepodge of theology, history, and traditions of cultic groups such as the Druids, the Mithars, Egyptian priesthood, Rosicrucian, and others, it blurs the Christian understanding of God in their rituals. God is referred to as the great architect of the universe, or the grand geometrician, or the Most High. In the Holy Royal Arch decree, the Hebrew name for God, Yahweh, is conflated with the Canaanite deity Baal and the Egyptian god Osiris to form the name Jahbulan, an act of blasphemy for any Christian. In another degree ritual, elements of the Mass are mimicked, another blasphemous act. Essentially, their beliefs offers a lowest common denominator of God so that all denominations of Christian and non-Christian religions may join. Since Freemasonry includes non-Christians, the use of the name of Jesus is forbidden within the lodge. While in America, most Masons are Christian and will display a Bible on their altar in the same lodge or elsewhere. Non-Christians may be admitted and may use their own sacred scriptures. For instance, oaths are sworn on the volume of sacred law, which is usually the Bible, but could also be the Koran. Eventually, this blurring of the Christian understanding of God eventually led to an atheistic force in France. In 1877, the Grand Orient Lodge eliminated the need to believe in God or immortality of the soul. Would a sincere Catholic participate in this hodgepodge of theology, history, and traditions that include idolatry and blasphemy? In a word, no. Second, following this hodgepodge, Freemasonry is a pseudo-religion. Its practices include temples, altars, a moral code, worship, services, vestments, feast days, a hierarchy of leadership, initiation, and burial rites, which include various oaths and secret acts, and promises of eternal reward and punishment. During the initiation rite, the candidate expresses a desire to seek light, and he is assured that he will receive the light of spiritual instruction that he could not receive in another church. Moreover, he will gain eternal rest in the celestial lodge if he lives and dies according to Masonic principles. All the various degrees oaths are taken. An oath is a religious act which asks God to witness the truth of the statement of the fulfillment of a promise. Only the Church and the state, for serious reasons, can require an oath. A candidate makes an oath to Freemasonry and its secrets under pain of death or self-mutilation by kneeling blindfolded in front of an altar, placing both hands on the volume of sacred law, maybe the Bible, the square and the compass, and repeating after the worshipful master. Keep in mind that the candidate does not even know all the secrets to which he is taking an oath. This oath is wrongful because of to whom and to what the candidate is swearing. Would a sincere Catholic participate in this pseudo-religion and take such oaths? In a word, no. So listen to this. Second, following this hodgepodge, Freemasonry is a pseudo-religion. Its practices includes temples, altars, a moral code, worship services, vestments, feast days, a hierarchy of leadership, initiation and burial rites, which includes various oaths and secret acts, and promises of eternal reward and punishment. Eternal reward and punishment. So if you follow the laws of life, you will have continuous life. If you follow the laws of death, you will have continuous death. That could be construed as reward and punishment. I can't seem to argue with the Freemasonry concepts. During the initiation rite, the candidate expresses a desire to seek light, and he is assured that he will receive the light of spiritual instruction that he could not receive in another church. So would the Catholic Church recognize indefinite life? Or are they always recognizing meiosis by Gregory Mendel and the very rigid roles of man and woman and reproduction and serving out your life, your servitude for a specific amount of time and then be destroyed, but then being carried on by your children? So this is very interesting. Moreover, he will gain eternal rest in the celestial lodge if he lives and dies according to Masonic principles. Well, even the Masonics haven't figured out eternal life as far as on earth, indefinite life, because they still are working with the same belief systems that humans should die at some point. Maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. So at the various degrees oaths are taken. An oath is a religious act which asks God to witness the truth of the statement of the fulfillment of a promise. Only the Church, the Catholic Church, and the state, for serious reason, can require an oath. A candidate makes an oath to Freemasonry and its secrets under pain of death or self-mutilation. By kneeling blindfolded in front of the altar, placing both hands on the volume of sacred law, maybe the Bible, the square and the compass, and repeating after the worshipful master. Keep in mind that the candidate does not even know all the secrets of which he's taken an oath to. Right, well, maybe it's still yet to be determined. there are secrets that he doesn't know about, but he's going to learn about them through his taking on compound knowledge. No different than what's going on right now. Do we know everything at this point? We are learning that, mitosis and meiosis are principles of duality, and that maybe you can do an indefinite mitosis and forego meiosis, but then how do you create a society, a diverse society? So there's that balance between mitosis and meiosis. So this oath is wrongful because of to whom and to what the candidate is swearing. Now, this is according to the church regarding Freemasonry. Would a sincere Catholic participate in this pseudo religion and take such oaths? In a word, no. Okay. So second, anti-Catholicism permeates Freemasonry. The two traditional enemies of Freemasonry are the royalty and the papacy. Masons even believe that Christ, dying on the Calvary, was the greatest among the apostles of humanity, braving Roman despotism and the fanaticism and bigotry of the priesthood. When a Mason reaches the 30th degree in the Masonic hierarchy called the Kadosh, the man crushes with his foot the papal tiara and the royal crown, and swears to free mankind from the bondage of despotism and the thraldom of the spiritual tyranny. Now pause for a moment. Would a sincere Catholic commit such an action? In a word, no. So, Freemason, and this is why George Washington was a Freemason. This makes freaking sense. I had to, hold on. So here are a few examples of Freemasonry and anti-Catholic in the United States. Freemasonry has inspired the anti-Catholic sentiment since colonial times. For example, one of the leaders of Freemasonry, General Albert Pike, died 1891, referred to the papacy as a deadly, treacherous enemy and wrote, "The papacy has been for thousands of years the torture and curse of humanity, the most shameless imposture in its pretense to spiritual power of all ages." Now you go look at the Catholic hospitals, the Mercy Hospital, all the different Catholic hospitals, and how much the doctors are doing stuff to you, and you're going through torture. This is not like, not like medieval days where you're being pulled apart, by machines. You're being taken apart through biotechnology. So maybe I am emulating some kind of Freemasonry thing, which is why so many heavy attacks against me. So here are a few examples of Freemasonry's anti-Catholicism in the United States. Freemasonry has inspired the anti-Catholic sentiment since colonial times. For example, one of the leaders of Freemasonry, General Albert Pike, died 1891, referred to the papacy as a deadly, treacherous enemy and wrote, "The papacy has been for 1,000 years the torture and the curse of humanity, the most shameless imposture in its pretense to spiritual power of all ages." In France in 1877 and in Portugal in 1910, Freemasons took control of the government for a time and enacted laws to restrict the activities of the church, particularly in education. In Italy, the movement in the mid-1800s to unify the country was infiltrated by the Freemasons, who were intent on abolishing the papacy and restricting the rights of the Catholic Church. Freemasonry spread into Latin countries, and its fruit is well evidenced in the Mexican Revolution and the persecution of the Catholic Church. As depicted in the recent movie For Greater Glory, would a sincere Catholic belong to any organization that has persecuted the Church and claimed the lives of so many of the faithful? In a word, no. This all makes freaking sense now. Holy crap. Granted, some Masonic lodges may provide great service to the community. Nevertheless, when a Catholic understands this group's history, religious pretense, anti-Catholic bias, and violence against the Church, no serious Catholic can justify joining Freemasonry. A good basic resource for more information is the Catholic Truth Society's Freemasonry and the Christian Faith. So torture is huge in the Catholic Church. You look at the Church's history, and then look at your hospitals. Look at the Catholic hospitals. So here's the thing. I'm promoting indefinite life. Is that going to go against the Catholic Church? Potentially, if they're saying that It's all about reproduction, meiosis. But I'm not Catholic. America, we have freedom of religion. But then you look at who Trump is. Who is Trump? I have no idea who Trump is holds his allegiance to. All I know is we have Biden, and we have Kamala Harris, and we have people who are trying to now control an imbalanced population. And yes, there is Planned Parenthood. Yes, there is abortion. Yes, there's all these different things. Now, I'm not condoning that. Right now, at this point, both sides are messing up humanity because they both are causing more predispositions, triggering meiosis, sexual urges, of which people are going to act out. And then, yeah, when you act out a sexual urge and you happen to have the plumbing to create a baby, that may happen. And then people are like, well, I don't want a kid, so I either give it up for adoption or they have an abortion. And then there you go. Then it becomes something of a who knows what, however someone wants to characterize it. So could I unite the both, the Freemasons and the freaking Catholic Church, both together, and the Christians and everybody else, and say, okay, can we balance out meiosis and mitosis to where you have a peaceful society where you don't have to turn to Freemasonry or Catholicism or Christianity or Islam or any of the different religions? But this is the New World Order. This is the New World Order. Now, is the Catholic Church a part of it? Are they willing to, have they actually joined forces? I don't know. They might have joined forces behind the scenes, but then, you know, their front is that they are still at war with each other, but are they really? I have no idea. I have no idea people's intentions. I have no idea what goes on behind closed doors, behind all the different leaders. I just know what I read on the internet and what some Catholics are being told, or anyone else that's researching what their intentions are. But whether it's sun worship or not, who cares? You worship the sun, yeah, sun gives us light. There's nothing wrong with worshiping the sun. It's just another element. I mean, worship is kind of a weird word, you know. Why would you worship anything? You just acknowledge that it exists. It's part of just the grand design of everything. But I'm adding something extra into this, saying, okay, we don't have to rely on death at some points. We have the ability to not only live indefinitely, but we don't have to procreate, and we're peaceful at the same time, and productive, and strong, and have mental clarity. That's the ultimate human that you want, right? Is someone that doesn't reproduce willy-nilly and have a billion kids they don't want to take care of or have the means to, with predispositions that they're exhibiting in the population with criminal acts and whatever else. And if they're not guided carefully, they go off and do whatever that's outside the lines. So you have a human that can live indefinitely, that's peaceful, that doesn't procreate willy-nilly, and is productive, and just takes care of their responsibilities, and is balanced in body, mind, and spirit. That right there would be both a benefit to both Freemasonry and the Catholic religion. And you don't have to have a societal construct. It doesn't have to be man or woman. It's whatever. Men and women are based upon reproduction, okay, to carry on a genetic line outside of their body. But now you could be both man and woman and procreate. You could take on characteristics of a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. Whatever that is. I mean, if you happen to be a male in our society and you want to take out your testes and you put in a uterus, do what you got to do. Because when it comes down to it, if your body can take it and it can actually hold life, then it doesn't matter the category. Because a man and a woman separately can actually asexually reproduce without the help of somebody else if they understand the chemistry. They don't have to create another life outside their body. They can create life within themselves and be that best genetic blueprint to carry on throughout the ages. But when you build a society, you're going to need then the sexual reproduction cells. Not the asexual reproduction, but the sexual reproduction. And that's what then lends to the Catholic Church and the roles for men and women and how, you know, everything works together as far as our society. But it does not surprise me that the Catholic Church are the ones that own all the hospitals. I see So many Catholic Church and Freemason. I see Catholic Church and Freemasonry halls all over my community. I go down the street and there's a huge, beautiful Catholic church. And then all the churches in between, Protestant, Methodist, Lutheran, Luciferian. This makes sense. This makes sense. Wow. So, at this point, don't even take a side when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to asexuality, when it comes to politics, religion, and science. You will inevitably step into some shit if you take a side. I don't care what it is. Yeah, I think kids are cute. Kids are great. That's great. You want to have a baby. You want to have a bunch of kids. That's beautiful. That's fine. But we need a balance of people who are taking care of their body, mind, and spirit within themselves, as well as taking care of the body, mind, and spirit of their children, so that they create a balanced human. Because reproduction comes from imbalances. Because you can't asexually reproduce, you're going to have to sexually reproduce with somebody else who also has deleterious genes that are triggering the meiosis mechanism. Sexual reproduction. And forget the social constructs of man and woman. This is taking everything down to the micro level, because the micro level will determine the macro level. And when you have micro level issues, you're going to have macro level issues. If you can't regenerate the micro level on an indefinite basis like mitosis, then eventually, yes, you're going to have macro level issues that are going to then trigger meiosis, sexual reproduction with whomever. So, I don't think Freemasonry is bad. I don't think the Catholic religion is bad. I think they both obviously have merged together in some way. There's offshoots of each other, and we need to now give credibility to both, and that we can merge both together, and now we have the jelly juice. You can still take on the constructs. You still want a thriving society with people who are balanced, and you don't know what kind of things will happen to destroy a person who may be taking on mitosis indefinitely, living indefinitely, because things happen. Reproduction at the macro level through meiosis is an insurance policy against potentially what would happen, but what could happen? I mean, a meteor shower, a plane crashing. When you're in a society that has like 500 million people, and you have a bunch of planes crash, well, you're gonna have to replace whatever amount of people that died in those plane crashes. Because if they're not reproducing, they don't have families, and they're just the human that's living indefinitely with their own specific role of whatever they're doing, you're gonna have to replace them. So you better have good replacements for them. So that's where meiosis comes into play. So there's got to be a balance between mitosis and meiosis on an indefinite basis. You can't just rely on one or the other, because there's got to be a balance of both. Just think about that for a minute. I'll talk to you later. Bye.